What is going on, peasants? My name is JB, and with Season 3 right around the corner in Pokemon Unite, I thought it'd be a pretty good time to go ahead and hop in and do another quick little tier list for you guys. And today we're going to be looking at all the Pokemon in the game from a pretty much solely solo queue perspective. You can, take some of this into account for solo duos and trios, but for 5 stacks, things are that's just a completely different world. I've played roughly 1,700 games in Pokemon Unite, and less than 50 have been in a 5 stack. So for solo duo trio, I know a little bit more of what I'm talking about, but for the most part, if you're playing within a 5 stack, I'm sure you can figure out what you should play or what your teammates want you to play. But if not, then you can take a little bit of help from this, less so. I'll try to talk about a little bit in 5 stacks, but mostly we're focusing on solo queue and a little bit of duo and trio thrown in there as well. So those are the parameters. We have the solo queue gods, at least above average of the subscribe tier. You guys should definitely, follow the B tier. It is what it is. The can you not, and then the straight up don't tier. So let's go ahead and hop right in. I think I want to do these by category. I think that is going to be the most fun way to do it. And let's just go ahead and start off with the heavy hitters. Why don't we? Let's just go ahead and start off with the attackers. So first and foremost, we got Cinderace and Greninja. For solo queue, 2 extremely easily S tier Pokemon. There's really no argument. Great ADCs, great mobility, great everything, great secures. They're just 2 of the absolute best Pokemon in the game, especially for solo queue. Great for carrying. You don't necessarily need jungle on both of them, but they are phenomenal junglers and can really put out just absurd damage and carry really any game. So you can't go wrong with either Cinderace or Greninja. Now the other attacker, Decidueye. Not nearly on the same level. We're gonna put Decidueye in the can you not tier. When the patch first came out, when it got buffed, Spirit Shackle and Razor Leaf, like it felt really good. I do still think it feels better. It's just the mobility is still so unbelievably bad that anytime anything with any sort of burst damage get near you, you're done. You're just dead. There's nothing this Pokemon can do to escape, and unfortunately, it just doesn't do enough burst damage back to to punish people that will want to dive in on it. The Leaf Star buff does help with that a little bit, but I mean it's just a minor inconvenience because at the end of the day, because something like an Absol, yeah, cool, you're gonna knock it back, it's gonna jump right back in on you and you're done. Like there's just not a whole lot you can do as a Decidueye to survive, but you can put out a ton of damage, and if you know how to position yourself well and you have solo queue teammates pilling for you and keeping stuff off of you, or if you are playing it with a duo or a trio queue, it can be a little bit more effective. That's what's keeping it out of the don't tier. The fact that it can put out a lot of damage, it's just really hard to make work well. And yeah, it still needs a little bit of help in mobility. I don't know how you give this Pokemon the mobility it needs without completely reworking it, but yeah, it's not in the best spot at the moment. Do we want to continue with attackers now, or do we want to move on? Like we could do the special attackers, I guess. Sure, we'll just get all the attackers out of the way. Pikachu, I think Pikachu is at least above average. It's still very, very good, puts out a lot of damage. It just doesn't have the late game potential to, not only for stealing, but it just doesn't output a ton of damage in game. It's a demon early game, one of the best early games in the game between levels 1 and 5, absolutely dominant. And it still has a really good mid game too. It can put out really solid damage with Thunderbolt, Electro Ball, Wild Charge, less, or Volt Tackle, whichever one is. A little bit less on the damage side, but still, good for crowd control and stuns and stuff like that. But I think Pikachu is very good. It's just, not quite on the level of Cinderace and Greninja. I think another Pokemon that is, on their level is Venusaur. Venusaur is one of the absolute best solo queue Pokemon in the game. One of the best carries in the game, for sure. It is so good if you know how to position yourself and get, maximum use out of the Petal Dance damage. It just, Venusaur does not mess around. It just has some of the highest damage output in the entire game if you know what you're doing. And then you have your Solar Beam builds for more fun. You need to still some objectives. You can just Solar Beam everything. It's great. I feel like there are going to be a lot of solo queue gods in this video, but I mean, a lot of Pokemon in this game are built for that, so I guess that's okay. Let's talk about some other things though. Cramorant, can you not? I think there are a little worse solo queue Pokemon, but it doesn't have the best damage. Again, horrible mobility. But Cramorant is maybe the most fun Pokemon in the game to play. It can dominate games. Like it can. Like a good Cramorant in lane can put in some work. It's Unite move is terrible. Again, bad mobility, bad late game as well. A good Cramorant can do things just like a good Decidueye can do things. It's just there are easily options that outclass it. Speaking of options that outclass it, we have Gardevoir. Gardevoir I struggle with because I personally think Gardevoir is terrible in lane, but I've been trying to record my special attacker solo queue video for a while, and I don't want to, you know, take Gardevoir in lane, and no one will give you Gardevoir jungle in solo queue. So like I've had several games where I've been trying to jungle Gardevoir and people, and I've called it almost immediately, and people have switched off of, you know, defenders or supporters to take a different Pokemon into jungle because that's how unconfident they are in jungle. Go watch some tournaments, please. Like, Gardevoir is unbelievable in jungle. That's the only time Gardevoir ever gets plays in jungle. And then, you know, you have people see someone trying to take Gardevoir in jungle and they're just like, no, can't have that. I gotta switch off the other thing. But Gardevoir is really good in jungle. It's just really not the best in lane, but I think the damage output is enough to give it A tier. It does crazy damage. It is a pretty easy Pokemon to carry with if you're able to get leveled up early if you're in lane. So for that reason, I think it is worthy of A. I just think it's pretty hard to, you know, stay consistent with all game. So for that reason, we'll go ahead and throw it in A tier. It's good, but it's not incredibly consistent enough to be S tier, and it's, you know, it's still too strong for B tier in my opinion. I think a solid B tier Pokemon though is Ninetales. I think it's a step beneath these two in terms of solo queue, but it still puts out so much damage, dude. It's kind of like Venusaur in that regard, where you don't really expect to see a Ninetales putting out like 80, 85, 90k damage a game, but you look at the end of the game and Ninetales just absolutely dominates. It's not always through kills. Like a lot of what Ninetales does well is, you know, creating space for teammates and setting up kills. Like you're gonna get a lot of assists as Ninetales. You're not only always gonna get a lot of kills, but you're gonna put out a ton of damage, especially with you know, the Avalanche build. If you are able to land your Avalanche Blizzard combos, you're gonna put out so much damage, and it still has one of the best boosted autos in the game. So yeah, I think Ninetales is not the best for solo queue, but it still puts out a ton of damage, and it is better in team fights than both of these two Pokemon. So I think that's enough to give it B tier over them. Sylveon, I think, is another B tier Pokemon. I just don't think it does nearly as much damage as anything beneath it or anything above it. Bad Unite move, good mobility, balances out, but I don't think it's as good as Gardevoir or Pikachu for that regard. So put it in B tier. I think it's probably better than Ninetales for solo queue though. All right, so there are the attackers. Let's go ahead and do the speedsters next. Since there's only 4 of them, it should be pretty easy. Absol, I think, is probably an A tier. Absol does so much burst damage. It is another Pokemon that is just absolutely deadly early game. It is so effing good early game with how much damage it can do. Ah, man, you can just pursue, you can run that, or you can just Night Slash through everything and just dominate games, man. Absol just blows up for our Pokemon, like, you know, the Decidueyes and the Cramorants of the world. There's just not a whole lot they can do against an Absol. If an Absol gets in on something like down here, Absol's getting a kill. So I think Absol's great. Good, fun Unite move. It does, you know, fall off a little bit late game, but good mobility to, you know, make up for that a little bit. So put it in the A tier. Zero Aura, it's borderline S, but we're gonna go ahead and throw it in A. I think it's probably above Absol, probably above Gardevoir. I think it's the best thing in A tier so far. So great damage output. Wild Charge is still really, really good. I don't think Discharge is as bad as, you know, as bad as it gets made out to be. I think it's really not good, but I think it's still usable. Definitely not my first choice or my second choice even. I mean, those are the only two. There's only 2 choices, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, Discharge is still really fun. Volt Switch is still decent, but I think the Spark Wild Charge build is still so good. Great Unite move, just gets it a little bit late. But yeah, Zero Aura has always been one of the best solo queue Pokemon, and I think, you know, just the nerf to Discharge coupled with the fact that it does, you know, take a little bit to get going, keeps it just out of the S tier, but still a very good Pokemon. Speaking of very good Pokemon, Bird. I hate Talonflame. It's one of my least favorite characters in the game to play against. Like it is still just such a brainless Pokemon, man. Like I am so sick of looking at Unite API and seeing Talonflames with 51% win rate in fucking like 1800. It is just disgusting how easy it is to win games with this Pokemon. So for that reason alone, it goes in A tier. It's brainless, it's easy, play Talonflame, win games. I think I'm maybe the only person who has as much of a problem with Talonflame as I do, but I think it's disgustingly good. So A tier for me. I think it used to be S tier with Fly. If it was, you know, Fly was still the way it is, I think it'd be, you know, one of the better Pokemon in the game still. But thankfully, Fly is not what it used to be. All right, Gengar, just don't. Gengar sucks. Gengar sucks in every way. Absolutely horrible in lane. One of the worst laners in the entire game, and that's saying something. There are a lot of Pokemon that are bad in lane. Like a lot of these Pokemon in the S tier, ironically, are bad in lane. You know, Zeraora is not the best in lane, but it's usable. Like everything is at least has some merit in lane. Like even though these guys are bad, they're good in lane because of how good they are as Pokemon. Gengar is bad in lane and it's bad as a Pokemon. Like there are very few redeeming qualities of this thing. I think it is probably, I don't think it's it feels wrong to say it's the worst Pokemon in the game, but it really does feel like the worst Pokemon in the game. It's just, it is the squishiest thing in the game, and it has no real damage output. Like, yeah, it can burst some stuff down if you allow a Gengar to get close to you and land his full combo on you, but you have to like pick and choose. You can only take out one Pokemon as Gengar. You're only a solo assassin. You're only getting one kill as a Gengar. You're not getting multi-kills ever as Gengar. It doesn't happen. Because you take out one person, you assassinate one person, the rest of the team just murders you because you don't have the mobility to get out. You don't have the mobility to run away from one Pokemon. And the thing is, Gengar has a little bit of Garchomp early syndrome. Because the thing with Garchomp used to be you just walk away from it. Gengar has that, and it's squishier than Garchomp, and it has a worse Unite move than Garchomp, and its level up moves are bad. Like, you might want to, you know, say the Hex changes, the level up changes were good for it, but you're still completely useless at Bees as a jungler. Like, yeah, cool. You get cooldown, you get your cooldown reduction if you kill someone with Dream Eater. You're not killing anyone with Dream Eater. Dream Eater is bad, and you have to jump into people to kill someone with Dream Eater. Gengar sucks. Don't play it. Just don't. All right, all-arounders or defenders or supporters. Let's do supporters next. Blissey, I think, is another pretty easy for solo queue. Don't. You can maybe move it into C tier if you're playing with a duo or a trio. So for that reason, for strictly solo queue, D tier, it's worse than Gengar in solo queue. For duo trio, I think you can talk me into C. I mean, for duo trio, it's probably, you know, a little bit, like, it's probably low B, high C for duo trio, but for solo queue, it's a definite D, so we'll just put it in C. So yeah, we'll put it in C tier, but strictly for solo queue, it's the worst Pokemon in the game. Let's be real. It is completely reliant on teammates, just totally reliant on teammates. If your teammates don't press A with helping hand, your helping hand is useless. If your teammates don't take advantage of your safeguards, it's useless. If your teammates don't take advantage of your Unite move, you're useless. Like, at what point does, you know, playing Blissey become a throw? Because you could play Blissey in solo queue, and you could, you know, have a chance to pop off if your teammates press A. Like, if you helping hand a Cinderace and Cinderace presses the A button, then, you know, you're doing a good job. Or, you know, you could just play Wigglytuff and actually, you know, be useful to your team guaranteed and potentially carry on Wigglytuff. So I think we'll go ahead and put Blissey in C tier, just splitting the difference between, you know, high C, low B for duo trio, and then absolute worst Pokemon in the game for solo queue. We're splitting the difference, putting it in C tier. All right, the other support is Wigglytuff. It's borderline S tier. I think it's the best Pokemon in the game, which means you should probably put it in S tier. But again, it's a solo queue support mindset. For duo trio, I think it, you know, is easily S tier. So even solo by itself is probably right in here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and put Wiggly in S tier. I think it's the best Pokemon in the game right now. I think Sing is incredible. Q-Charm is incredible. Dazzling Gleam stuns are incredible. Like, everything about its kit is phenomenal. It has the best Unite move in the game, giving your team 5 basically buddy barriers. You just give out so much shields with it. Even after they nerfed it, it's still an unbelievable Unite move. Like, everything about Wiggly is phenomenal. It's a little bit harder to carry in solo queue games, but if you're playing with your friends with a Wiggly, like, bro, you're just dominating the game. Like, you're just singing everything. Your teammates are hopefully playing a carry, and you're just blowing up everything you sleep. Like, bro. And Wiggly does underrated damage too. Slap some special attack specs on it, get the stacking. Your freaking Dazzling Gleams are doing like half to everything. You're chunking everything in the game. Wiggly is unbelievable. It's the best Pokemon in the game, bar none in my opinion. So we'll put it in the S tier. Eldegoss for solo queue. It's another Pokemon for like duo trio. Like, you're talking S to A tier. Like, I think it's, you know, honestly S tier in like team play. It's, you know, one of the best Pokemon in the game in team play. For strictly solo queue though, it's probably closer to B, because you can't put out a little bit of damage with those as Eldegoss. Just nothing crazy. Your healing is pretty nice too. I think we'll put it at the bottom of A tier though. Just again, splitting the difference between solo and then duo trio. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal Pokemon. We'll put it in the old A tier as well. Mime, I think, probably goes in there as well. Mime is difficult for me because a good Mr. Mime is one of the best characters in the game. An average Mr. Mime is, you know, like probably somewhere in here, right? That's how averages work. But a bad Mr. Mime, put your way down here. I've seen some horrible Mr. Mime gameplay in my days. I think Mr. Mime as a character, if you know how to play it, is probably closer to A tier. Its confusion stuns are still so disgusting. It's another Pokemon, you slap some special attack specs on it, and you're just literally killing everything with confusion. It is so strong with confusion. Like, confusion is maybe one of the best moves in the game. Barrier is really good. Guard swap's fun, so you can get a lot of utility out of Mr. Mime. It has a really good Unite move too, silencing enemies. So I think Mr. Mime is pretty damn solid as a solo queue support. All right, let's get the defenders out of the way. The defenders are pretty tough for solo, in my opinion. I think the only two legitimately great ones for solo queue are Greedent. You can just run around, score, invade jungles, do basically whatever you want and just not die. So I think for that reason alone, I can put Greedent in A tier. And I think Blastoise is a solid B tier pick. I don't think it's quite as good. Actually, no, that's disrespectful. We'll put Blastoise in A tier as well. Just because it can put out a ton of damage and it has so much crowd control. You can really just bully opponents. Like, I've seen so many Rotoms get pushed into second goal just because of Blastoise surfs. Like, it's really good. Just listen, dude, there are 3 things guaranteed in life. This is become a meme on our streams, myself, Galadite, and Dorian. There are 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Blastoise players uniting the fucking air. There are a lot of, stereotypes within Pokemon Unite. The truest one of them all is that Blastoise players have no fucking clue how to use its Unite move. Like, I've seen so many brain dead Blastoise Unites, it's unreal. I want to make like a fucking montage of it. If I'm gonna start like noting those down, and I'm going to make a montage of bad Blastoise Unite moves. That's gonna be a thing. So be on the lookout for that at some point. I'm gonna need to get some footage of it. But it's become such a meme that whenever one of the 3 of us are playing Blastoise, we will literally hit level 9 and then just unite just to make ourselves laugh. That's how bad Blastoise Unite players are, or Blastoise players are with their Unite move. And they'll like a lot of people will pop their Unite moves with like 230 left. Blastoise players are not allowed to have their Unite move at Zapdos. Blastoise players are the worst about that. It's ridiculous. But for solo queue and for duo trio, Blastoise is still a very good Pokemon. You should play it. It's really fun. It's really good. Yeah, moving on. Slowbro, I think, is a solid B tier. Scald and Surf are both... Jesus. Scald and Surf are both viable options. Either way you want to go with that. So definitely try it out. Telekinesis is a little bit better for team play. Amnesia is a bit better for solo queue, but both are interchangeable in that regard. I think Slowbro rather is very solid. Give it a shot. Snorlax. I think for solo queue, it's probably closer to here. Just because your teammates, you have to have follow up for your blocks for your heavy slams. But for team play, it's probably closer to here. We'll put it like high B. We'll put Snorlax high B for solo queue. Yeah, it's another one of those Pokemon that just has to sort of rely on teammates, because if they don't follow up with your heavy slams, they don't follow up with your blocks. What are you really doing? You're playing Flail, and Flail is, I'm sorry, Flail's bad. Flail is not a good build. Don't run it. But if you want to run it, sure, go ahead. Mamoswine, I think Mamoswine is only really usable in duo trio. I think Mamoswine solo is really bad. So we'll put it high C. I think Mamoswine is definitely usable in some team comps. But I think its damage output is just too low for solo queue. Its carry potential just is non-existent for solo. But for duo trio, you can talk me into like here, somewhere in this range, but splitting the differences again, we'll go ahead and put it in C. At the very top of C. Our tree buddy. Okay, I am still of the opinion that Trevenant is good. I think its Unite move is unbelievable. I think it's really hard to kill. But I do agree that it needs a little bit of a damage buff. I'm gonna put it right beneath Mamoswine. I think it's pretty good though. I'm personally a big fan of the tree, but I can see how it's not exactly great, and some people don't like it. All right, Crustle. This one is really divisive for me. This one is really divisive for me because I still see Crustle being played a decent amount in mid-tier master where I am, and it's very hit or miss. I think it can be very good. The problem is it's just not as good as it used to be. Can I recommend you to play it? I guess strictly for solo queue, Like if you're playing by yourself, I don't think Crustle is that bad. If you're playing with your friends, I think Crustle gets worse. Because I think if you're playing with people, you just, you know, you'd rather have a Slowbro or a Snorlax or a Blastoise. But and if you're playing by yourself, I think, you know, Greedent does Crustle's job better. I don't know, man. This is a tough one for me. I'm just gonna take the easy route. I'm gonna put it in the same tier as the other three. I think if you're playing strictly by yourself, it's fine. You can get away with it. If you're playing with your friends, you're better off playing any of the other defenders. And even if you're playing by yourself, Greedent kind of does its job better. So yeah, there's that. Okay, all arounders, they're all really, really good right now. They're all in a pretty damn decent spot. So this one's going to be tough to figure out. All right, because there's going to be some pretty high tiers here, in my opinion. So let's see. For solo queue, for strictly solo queue, okay. Or for solo duo trio, I guess. This one's tough. This one is not exactly easy. Because they're all good, I think. They're all really good. Let's start off with Machamp. Sure, why not? I think Machamp is, I think the buffs to it are actually incredible. The submission buff is so nice. The dynamic punch change is really nice as well. The lifesteal is very good. In team play, it's been seeing a lot of like solo top play as well. So it's definitely on the come up. I still think it's a little bit hard to pull off solo. It's because, again, it's the kind of Pokemon that does need a little bit of follow-up if you are playing submission, but you can, you know, mitigate that by running, what is it, close combat, whichever, you know, other option there is. I don't know what the sets are, bro. Leave me alone, okay? Fucking fight me. But I think Machamp is very, very good. I just think it's better in team play right now than it is in solo duo trio. I think it's better in 5 stacks than it is here. I think it's probably somewhere in this range. Yeah, we'll throw it there. We'll throw it there. Why not? Why not? Serena. My, how the mighty have fallen. It used to be here. Then it was like here. And now I think it's probably somewhere around here-ish. Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere around here. Still does a lot of damage. Still has unbelievable mobility. Good enough Unite move. It's just its healing is not as good as it was, which makes it, you know, not as good as it was, but it's still very, very good. So we'll go ahead and put it as a very, very high A tier. Not very, very high, but still pretty high. I think it actually, okay, let's rearrange this. If we're ranking them within the tiers, it's probably something like that. So yeah, that looks a little bit better to me. And then also this, there we go. Maybe that as well. Yeah, maybe something like that. Sure, that looks better to me. If we're doing it within the tiers, that looks better to me. Okay, Charizard. This is so close to S tier in my opinion. But I just think it's a little bit harder if you're not playing in jungle and you're not playing with, like, if you're playing solo and you're playing in lane, it's a little bit rough. But if you're playing it strictly solo in jungle, it is a monster and it is definitely, you know, very close to S tier. But it's a little bit more forgiving in lane with if you're playing with a friend, and if you're playing, you know, with friends in jungle, then I think it's an easy S tier. But just splitting the differences, we're gonna put it at the top of A tier. I think Charizard is incredible. One of the best auto attacks in the game. One of the best Unite moves in the game. The changes to Flamethrower and Fire Blast, phenomenal. Yeah, very, very good Pokemon. Love me some Charizard, and I don't have a bad thing to say about it. It's one of my most played favorite Pokemon for a reason. It's so damn good. All right, we only have 3 more. Let's talk about the demon that is Lucario. So they changed close combat, so you only heal off of one target rather than being able to heal off everything. I just don't think it's as good in solo queue as it is in team play. And for that reason, I'm gonna put it below. I'm gonna put it like here. I think it's still incredible in solo queue. I just think it's, you know, obviously it's one of the absolute best Pokemon in the game for team play, but it can be a little bit rougher solo queue. If you're playing with, you know, again, duo trio, it is, you know, still very usable. So yeah, splitting the difference between 5 stack being here and then solo being like here, and then duo trio probably like here, we'll split the differences and call it that. You get it? Sure. Let's go with that. All right. Probably my 2 favorite Pokemon in the game. That's not true. Well, my 2 favorite Pokemon design wise and just, you know, outside of Pokemon Unite wise. That's probably true, I guess. Yeah, probably. Garchomp and Dragonite. I know I'm a normie. Dragonite's like my all-time favorite Pokemon, and Garchomp I like a lot too, but the random tangent is random. Dragonite I think is still S tier, especially for solo queue. It is such an incredible Pokemon. Its Hyper Beam damage got nerfed for opponents, but you can still do max damage to objectives, so you can still take every single Dreadnought, every single Rotom, every single Zapdos in the game, and you're not worried about it one bit. You can still just drop them like it's nothing. And for that reason alone, I think it's very high in just the solo queue environment, just simply because of being able to secure objectives. I think that alone grants it, you know, top tier in my opinion. But it's still very, very solid. It still puts out decent damage with everything. Nothing crazy where you're deleting people from like half. You're still, you know, deleting people from like 25, 35%. You're still doing a fuckload of damage, just not quite as much as you were, which is a good thing. But you're still very good. Your night move isn't, you know, what it used to be. Being able to hop a lot and, you know, use it 15 times a game. You can still use it like 5 or 6 times a game really effectively, and you can still at any point buddy barrier, score 50 and win a game like that. So I think for solo queue, Dragonite is still one of the absolute best Pokemon in the game. And then Garchomp, probably my favorite Pokemon to play in the entire game. I love Garchomp so much. I can't quite put it S tier though. I think it's so good right now, dude. I think it's so good. I think it can be a little hard in solo queue, so we'll put it like we'll put it below Serena. I think it's unbelievable, but it does still struggle solo. You don't need jungle on it if you know how to play the top lane shots. Go watch Phil Yumis's videos on Garchomp if you want to learn how to play Garchomp solo top. It's pretty fun, pretty good at doing that, but it can be a little bit hard to figure out. But if you can figure out that playstyle, if you can learn that playstyle, I think Garchomp becomes unbelievable. And then for, you know, if you're able to take it in the jungle, it's a pretty effective jungler as well. So go ahead and put it in like the middle of A tier. So yeah, there are a lot of A tier Pokemon in this, and that's pretty good because, you know, a lot of Pokemon are able to, you know, hold their own outside of a team, which is probably not a good thing. That's why there feels like a lot of Pokemon are broken in this game, but whatever. And then there are, you know, some other Pokemon that can do some things, but, you know, there are better choices. And then there's just Pokemon that no one should play ever. Yeah, that's what we have. Let me know what you think of the tier list. Please yell at me. Please tell me to uninstall. It fuels me. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy season 3, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.